ওয়েলকাম ব্যাক টু মাই চ্যানেল ইজি ইংলিশ উইথ সত্যজিৎ। এই ভিডিওতে 50+ স্পেশাল ভয়েস চেঞ্জ নিয়ে আলোচনা করা হয়েছে, হুইচ উইল বি বেনিফিশিয়াল ফর দি স্কুল, কলেজ অ্যান্ড কম্পিটিটিভ এক্সামস। ভয়েস চেঞ্জ উইথ রিফ্লেক্সিভ অবজেক্ট। অ্যাক্টিভ, হি হার্ড হিমসেলফ। প্যাসিভ, হি ওয়াজ হার্ড বাই হিমসেলফ। নেক্সট, ভয়েস চেঞ্জ উইথ ফ্যাক্টিটিভ অবজেক্ট। Active, they elected him president. Passive, he was elected president by them. Next, indirect passive. Active, come here. Passive, you are requested to come here. Next, passive of infinitive. Active, you have to admit this. Passive, this has to be admitted by you. Next, verb followed by object. Active, I saw him go to the garden. Passive, he was seen to go to the garden. Next, verbal noun with preposition and object. Active, we went to see the landing of the airplane. Passive, we went to see the airplane being landed. Next, quasi-passive. Active, the rose smells sweet. Passive, the rose is sweet when it is smelled. Next, passive with different preposition. Active, light filled the room. Passive, the room was filled with light. Next, passive without object. Someone has stolen my purse. Passive, my purse has been stolen. Next, passive with get. Active, publish the book. Passive, get the book published. ডুয়ার যখন কাজ নিজে না করে অন্যকে দিয়ে করায় তখন গেট দিয়ে প্যাসিভ ভয়েস করতে হয়। নেক্সট, মোডাল ভার্বস উইথ প্যাসিভ। অ্যাক্টিভ, শি ক্যান সলভ দ্য প্রবলেম। প্যাসিভ, দ্য প্রবলেম ক্যান বি সলভ বাই হার। নেক্সট, মোডালস ইন পাস্ট উইথ প্যাসিভ। অ্যাক্টিভ, হি শুড হ্যাভ ডান ইট। Passive, it should have been done by him. Next, infinitives with passive. Active, she needs to clean the room. Passive, the room needs to be cleaned. Next, gerunds with passive meaning. Active, she enjoys people praising her. Passive, she enjoys being praised. Next, causatives with passive meanings. Active, she had someone clean her car. Passive, she had her car cleaned. Next, get passive. Active, he got someone to paint the house. Passive, he got the house painted. Next, double object sentences to passive. Active, they gave him a gift. Passive, he was given a gift, or a gift was given to him. Next, question sentences to passive. Active, who wrote this book? Passive, by whom was this book written? Next, negative sentences to passive. Active, they did not help her. Passive, she was not helped by them. Next, imperatives with modals in passive. Active, you must open the windows. Passive, The windows must be opened by you. Next, passive with phrasal verbs. Active, we talked of them. Passive, they were talked of by us. Next, passive of imperative sentence. Active, trap it or poison it. Passive, let it be trapped or poisoned. Next, passive with reporting verbs. Active, people say he is a genius. Passive, he is said to be a genius. Next, passive of verbs with preposition. Active, they look after the children. Passive, the children are looked after by them. Next, clapped sentences in passive. Active, it was John who completed the task. Passive, it was the task that was completed by John. Next, expletive, there sentences in passive. Active, there are many people in the hall. Passive, many people are present in the hall. Next, conditional sentences with passive. Active, if they had informed her, she would have come. Passive, if she had been informed, she would have come. Next, passive infinitives with to. Active, they expect him to finish the job. Passive, he is expected to finish the job. Next, passive of complex gerund constructions. Active, I hate people laughing at me. Passive, I hate being laughed at. Next, passive voice of infinitives. Active, it is time to do your duty. Passive, it is time for your duty to be done. Next, passive with adverbs. They completed the work quickly. Passive, the work was completed quickly by them. Next, passive with indirect object emphasis. Active, the teacher gave the student a book. Passive, the student was given a book by the teacher. Next, change of passive to active. The letter was written by her. Active, she wrote the letter. Next, unstated agent in passive. Passive, the rules were broken. Active, someone broke the rules. Next, omitting object in passive. Active, people consider me honest. Passive, I am considered honest. Next, using passive for politeness. Active, you broke the vase. Passive, the vase was broken. Next, indirect passive. Active, the accident killed many people. Passive, many people were killed in the accident. Next, using passive in academic writing. Active, researchers conducted an experiment. Passive, an experiment was conducted. Next, optative sentence. Active, may God bless you. Passive, may you be blessed by God. Next, passive with state verbs. Active, she knows him. Passive, he is known to her. Next, passive with complex sentence. Active, We must endure what we cannot cure. Passive. What cannot be cured must be endured. Next, historical passive. Passive. The bridge was built in 1900. Active. The builders built the bridge in 1900. Next, passive for giving warning. Passive. Trespassers will be prosecuted. Active. The authority will prosecute trespassers. Next, passive to avoid blame. Active. You forgot the meeting. Passive. The meeting was forgotten. Next, passive with different preposition. Active. His conduct shocked me. Passive. I was shocked at his conduct. Voice change of WH questions. Active. Who gave you the ice cream? Passive. By whom were you given the ice cream? Next. Active. Whom did you call? Passive. Who was called by you? Next. Active. What do you mean? Passive. What is meant by you? Next. Active. Why did the teacher punish you? Passive. Why were you punished by the teacher? Next. Active. Which book do you want? Passive. Which book is wanted by you? Next. Active. How did you do it? Passive. How was it done by you? Thank you for watching my video.